Today I'm exploring the subject of how long you should keep your CCTV footage for. What does the law say? What do insurers expect? What's actually practical in the real world? In the UK, CCTV footage is governed by the General Data Protection Regulations, or GDPR for short. Those regulations don't actually state a specific number of days that you're allowed to keep footage for, but what it does say, crucially, is that storage retention must be reasonable and justifiable. So if you're in a workplace, you need to actually be able to justify how long it is that you keep your footage for. And that's got to be then documented and justified in your security policy. If you have retained your footage for too long, then that leaves you at risk of a complaint for non-compliance. So what is a reasonable amount of time to keep your footage for? Well, I guess that can vary by what industry you're in. And typically in hospitality and retail, you might keep the footage for, say, 30 days. In those industries, you've got a greater chance of recording members of the public who might not know that they're being recorded. In commercial offices, maybe 30 to 60 days is typical. And in higher risk areas like cash handling or logistics, it's not uncommon to keep footage for 90 days. Also worth bearing in mind is what your insurers might require of you. So have a talk to them, see what their policy says, and build that into your security footage retention policy. There are, of course, practical considerations as well, not least of which is how you're actually storing your footage. Do you have cloud storage or do you have hard drives in recorders on site? If you're using cloud storage, then it's relatively straightforward to keep your footage for X number of days. Your plan will give you 30, 60, 90 days or whatever. However, that's a lot harder to do when you have on-site hard drive storage. For a start, you have to consider what you want when you're initially specifying the system. So you have a certain number of terabytes in your hard drive, but then that is affected by your frame rate and resolution of cameras, because obviously an 8 megapixel camera recording at 25 frames per second is going to need a lot more storage space than a 5 megapixel camera recording at 15 frames per second. So you need to make sure when you're specifying that you get the amount that you want in terms of the amount of days of storage that you want, without going too mad and recording for a lot longer, and therefore, again, as I've said before, leaving yourself wide open to complaints of non-compliance. The best practical advice I can give you is to go back to that retention policy. Think about what you need, think about why you need it, and document that. But also make sure you stick to that. So that revolves around regularly reviewing the amount of storage that you've got there and ensuring that you've not got too much and not got too little in accordance with your policy.